the week of 8/22 and 8/23, back-to-back days of Raw, SmackDown. Glad you could stop by, join the channel here as I report to you Raw and SmackDown from this past week. In case of those who may have not had a chance to miss it or hadn't had a chance to just want to get the kind of a short kind of review of it that's not on paper. I kind of give my ideas and stuff on Raw and SmackDown. You know, I love wrestling and watched it over years, so I hope you enjoy the report here as I called out, and I credit so much to No DQ and amongst other sites that are able to get these reports to you, and as I've watched them myself and give you my opinions of them. So we're going to jump right into the show, and we'll start off with the Raw edition for 8/22/16. The show opened up and it had Mick Foley and Stephanie. They were inside the ring. They had the new Universal WWE Universal title. Finn Balor in the ring, who had won it at the previous pay-per-view. And, he beat Seth Rollins for it, which was kind of a weird, I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of thinking Seth would probably get it being a new title for Raw, heavyweight title for Raw. Finn Balor was out there standing in the ring with the title, and, Finn Balor was there thanking the crowd and stuff, and it was kind of a sad moment. He came there to, not only was he the first WWE Universal title holder, but he also had to, unfortunately, due to an injury that he received from Seth during the match with his shoulder, he was sad to say that he was there not to just only to be celebrated as champion, but to also, unfortunately, relinquish the title, which was a very sad time for this, But he thanked the crowd, and stuff for what he done. And he said that when he got back, he would be challenging again for the title. So as we see Finn Balor, excuse me, folks. Finn Balor, as he started to exit the ring, Seth Rollins comes out and walks past him. And, when I first saw it, I thought they were going to give the title to Seth because due to Finn being out, that he would be the champion. But, he started talking about how, he would be the champion. He was a true champion. He was the real champion. He was the real winner. Well, we've seen all of a sudden Sami Zayn's music hits. Sami Zayn is there to talk to him. And not only was he not the only one that was going to be out there, and then after him came Chris Jericho, came Kevin Owens, Enzo and Cass were out there, and Roman Reigns. All of them were out there in the ring, standing around making cases for it. So Mick Foley decides that there's going to be a series of matches. He didn't call it a tournament or a gauntlet. It just says a series of matches tonight, and that will lead up to the crowning of a new champion next week. And it said that the final the tournament final would be a fatal four-way for the title. So, that's very interesting, and they had a series of matches over the course of the night. As we see, first up, a Universal Championship qualifier matchup. We saw Seth Rollins defeat Sami Zayn. Decent match, not too bad. Started off. He advanced to the final because Sami somehow got hurt. He injured his ankle in the matchup, and he took advantage of that. And Rollins did he did a reverse. He did a brainbuster, countered a brainbuster attempt by Sami Zayn, and he ended up hitting the pedigree for the win. After the matchup, we see another Universal qualifier match. We see Kevin Owens taking on Neville, which, how this match was going to end up. I already knew before that was going to happen what that was going to be. But we see that Chris Jericho ended up coming outside, and he was ringside. They were playing off that whole, I have your back, you have mine, that Jericho, as they call themselves, have been doing over the last few weeks, kind of helping each other out in this matchup. And we see that he ended up distracting the referee, and when Neville was going for the red arrow, and then after a little while after that, Jericho tried to get interfered again. Owens then hit the Argentine neck breaker for the win. So we see now that joining Seth Rollins is now Kevin Owens into this matchup. So far we have 2 of the 4 that advance in this matchup. Up next, we see Big E, which he made his return back as he defeated Carl Anderson. Luke Gallows was trying to interfere, but then all of a sudden Kofi and Xavier Woods, they kind of got him the best of him, and then Big E ends up hitting the big ending to get the pin. Good matchup. Up next, we see Titus O'Neil, and he's cutting his promo on Bob Backlund. Remember, primetime players temporarily were a tag team again, and Darren Young inadvertently got hit into Titus, and Titus ended up hitting Darren Young and basically walking out. And Titus O'Neil apparently playing off the heel is now a heel apparently. He is getting very angry at Bob Backlund and blaming him for everything. And Backlund finally came out and and he ended up getting laid out by Titus, and then Darren Young came in to Bob Backlund. He got hit with the Clash of the Titus, which is his move, apparently, and so now Bob Backlund and Darren Young are laying out. So this is going to continue their feud going into Monday Night Raw, going into his future Raw. So apparently we're going to see a Darren Young and Titus O'Neil feud, which we knew that was going to happen. They're going in two different directions, and Titus just can't find his own place. He was a face, now he's a heel. Apparently again against Darren Young. Up next, we have another qualifying matchup for the Universal Championship. We see Big Cass taking on Rusev, and Rusev has been through a lot the past few weeks. He got married to Lana, and then he ended up having a few Roman Reigns, and before they even had the match at the pay-per-view, Roman Reigns destroys Rusev, and the match they didn't even have a U.S. title match, which was weird because of the whole point is that it made you think that Roman Reigns wanted. This is where I get confused because WWE can be confusing. Their creative is just that. They don't have any direction and where to go. You want him to be in the title picture. You're trying to get him cheers. You're trying to get the crowd behind him with the whole USA versus Rusev thing. And I get that. But, to me, since he's came back, I just think that he basically, they're trying to keep him in the title picture without keeping him in the title picture. And now, apparently, he's in the title picture again after he didn't even fight Rusev or win or lose for the U.S. title from the night before. So, hello, creative crash control. You don't know where you're going when you get on that train of the WWE creative team. So, we see that basically Big Cass defeats Rusev. Rusev was supposed to have went out and he had his ribs and stuff, and they were supposed to be bruised, after SummerSlam from what Roman Reigns done to him. And he played off pretty good. And then after he ended up, after Cass was beating him up and all working on those ribs, it said Rusev basically decided to go in and get counted out. He got the loss, and he'd rather get the loss than continue getting beat down by Cass in this matchup. So now Cass ends up going. So I guess it looks like you're going to give, they're not pushing him to get the title, but they're trying to get people ready just in case Cass is in a future singles run. They're trying him out, I guess, to see how he's going to do. So it was a pretty decent matchup. We come back and we see Charlotte and Dana Brooke, and they're out there, and they start talking junk to Sasha Banks, because Sasha ended up losing the title at SummerSlam. She had some injuries she's having to take off for about a month or so. She's dealing with. Good thing she didn't have to have surgery. She's just going to be out for a little while with her back. And so they put Sasha Banks down. They put the women's division down, and this ended up with Mick Foley coming out there, and Mick Foley, because she's sitting there talking about how nobody's able to defend her, nobody's able to stand up to her, nobody can handle her. And then Mick Foley welcomes out, making her real WWE Women's on Raw debut, is the hugger herself, Bayley. And, she's good. This is her full-time roster debut now. She came before for a brief debut, but it wasn't her full time. Now she's going to full time. She left NXT last week, and in her matchup against Asuka, and now she is on the Raw, and she is their apparently the hottest free agent that out there at that point, and they signed her. So congratulations to Bayley for finally making the NXT roster. And right off the bat, Bailey starts to challenge Charlotte for her title. So, it's going to be a good feud. I look for Bailey. Bailey's a really good performer, and I think that the whole matchup will be a great matchup, and I think it'll be a good feud if creative pushes it right. They know how to do it in NXT. The point is, can the big company, the Raw, SmackDown, WWE company, can they creative do something good with these ladies? These ladies deserve a push, and they deserve to have a good matchup and have a good feud going. Up next is your pee break of the night. If you hadn't had the chance to go to the bathroom, this would have been the time to do it. Again, another Braun Strowman sighting. This time, his unsuspecting victim's name was Johnny Knockout, of all people. So you wonder if there was any foreshadowing with that name. But Braun, as usual, that's been happening as they've tried to push Braun Strowman on Raw, as he's apparently him and Nia Jax are only two that get jobber opponents to squash each week. It's like eating a breakfast bar and going on. That's all that basically is. But Braun Strowman, we see, wins this matchup with a reverse choke slam. He ends up beating up poor old Knockout again, and he tells the referee to give him a second count pinfall. So not only did he see it was good enough to beat him once, he in fact, folks, beat him twice. Now poor Johnny Knockout is 0-2 in the WWE. So, feel really bad for him. Next up, we see the Dudley Boys. This was a surprise. They came out to announce their retirement. And they thanked the crowd. It was shocking to me, I guess, because there was a lot of rumblings that WWE had planned on splitting the two up, and they must have not wanted to split up, so they retired instead. And they thanked the crowd and whatnot. And when they were done, all of a sudden, the Shining Stars, Primo and Epico, came out there, and they talked trash to them, insulted them, and ended up being funny and trying to give them 2 tickets to Puerto Rico, and the Dudleys ended up beating them up, which of course you know was going to happen. But then out of nowhere, we see Anderson and Gallows come out there and catch them off guard, and they ended up beating down the Dudley Boys, and poor old Devon, for his troubles, he gets put through a table when they hit the Magic Killer on him. So that's their way out of WWE. Which is usually the typical way sometimes that they do. The person leaving ends up getting beat down. I've seen it more than one occasion. Up next, we see our matchup of the Universal Qualifier. We have Seth Rollins, we have Big Cass, we have Kevin Owens. So now we need another good guy. So we're just kind of foreshadowing up this last matchup of Raw with then Roman Reigns taking on Y2J, Chris Jericho. Now, Owens ended up coming out there, and Jericho KO's having each other's back again. Jericho had his, now Owens had his. But, Owens had tried to get in and interfere, tried to cause some problems for Reigns, who got booed mercilessly again. Of course, when he's not fighting himself, he will get booed, no matter what Vince thinks. And he Reigns ends up getting the pin. He finally hit the spear on Jericho, and he got the 1, 2, 3, and he becomes the 4th person now in next week's Fatal 4-Way to determine a new Universal Champion. And that's basically how Raw ended, folks, and what we say in this. And I was really, surprised in it. But, that's just the way the cookie sometimes crumbles. So that was the Raw report now. And so we're going to be heading right on into SmackDown, folks. And here we are, SmackDown Live, results for 8/23. The show kicked off with AJ Styles. AJ Styles had a good match and pinned and defeated John Cena, which we know John Cena is going to take some time away. AJ was backstage bragging about his victory over John Cena at SummerSlam. And he starts picking at Dolph Ziggler. And remember, Dolph Ziggler lost his matchup against Dean Ambrose for the WWE World Title, or SmackDown title, as I call it. And Ziggler ended up attacking AJ, and the referees and stuff, and people had to get in between the two of them. So, oh joy, looks like we're going to see a Dolph Ziggler versus AJ Styles matchup for tonight, probably in the main event. Foreshadowing to be told. Well, now we see Shane McMahon come out. Shane McMahon and Daniel Ring. They came out to the ring, and they called all the women out and the tag teams out. Now they announced that they too were going to have SmackDown titles, which I thought the tag team titles looked pretty cool. I thought the women's title looked decent, looked the same as the women's, except the background to theirs was blue, not red. So take it as it is. And they said that at Backlash, which will be their first pay-per-view, and they ended up having a six-pack challenge who to crown a SmackDown Women's Champion. So we look forward to seeing that at their pay-per-view Backlash. And then they said that as for the tag teams, it says they're going to have a tournament for that. And it will the main event will conclude at Backlash, where they will crown new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Out of nowhere, of course, the man that doesn't give up. He's the unknown hottest free agent in WWE. Heath Slater comes out, and he figures now he can't get a singles title, can't get a contract. So he figures he'll go for the tag team titles. And we see Daniel Bryan. He told Slater, he said, "Look, if you get a partner, you can enter next week, okay? But you've got to win the tournament to get a contract." And then we see AJ Styles come out and brag some more, about what he had done. And then Ziggler ended up jumping on him again. So they had to get the tag teams to get between Ziggler and AJ Styles. Next up, we have a rematch here from what we saw. Becky Lynch taking on the very, very beautiful Alexa Bliss. And I must admit, these are two beautiful ladies, like on my top four. I've already had four. I picked Paige. I picked Becky Lynch. I picked Nikki Bella, of course, Nikki Bella. And then I definitely got to have Alexa Bliss in there because she is so gorgeous. But she fought against Becky Lynch. You remember she got the last of Becky Lynch, the best of Becky Lynch the last time. So now we see that Becky Lynch in turn now gets the match up and the win by our arm submission move that she does. I think it's pretty cool though. I like that she's got her submission move. I love submission moves being that rather than just your typical finishers, because to me it's one of the best things you can do. So good congratulations to Becky Lynch. Well, poor old Heath Slater will come back, and he's around. He's trying to find a partner. He comes up to The Miz, and The Miz ends up getting a phone call, and he's talking like he's going to be the new Indiana Jones, and then, away, and then Slater's definitely not going to have him as apparently the tag team partner. We see a next matchup that's kind of really, if you wanted the pee break of SmackDown, this is the one. It's the Usos versus the Ascension. Because nobody really cares about the Ascension. The Usos haven't been relevant in a few months, so apparently now SmackDown's going to have to make usage of them because they're only one of the few tag teams that they do have, and they're going to go for the titles. So the Usos end up winning this as no surprise, hitting the Samoan squash to Samoan splash. Excuse me, I also said squash, but it was, the Ascension just suck anyway. So they end up advancing in the tournament. So congratulations to the Usos. Next up, we see AJ Styles. Came out for another promo, and I love AJ Styles. He's an awesome dude. He's one of my favorites, even though he's a heel. He's always been one of my favorites when he was in TNA. He comes out, cuts a promo, and he said that people like Dolph Ziggler are jealous because he beat John Cena. And Styles said that he now is the new face that runs the place because he's playing off of Cena's he's the face that runs the place. Now AJ Styles beat Cena and right in the middle of the ring. No interference whatsoever. So I congratulate Cena for conceding and giving him that win before he left. So I will congratulate Cena for that. And he said that he should be the #1 contender for the SmackDown World title, And then, of course, Ziggler doesn't agree with that. Ziggler comes out and he's mad, and the officials are trying to hold him back. And then Daniel Bryan comes out there and tells him, AJ, we'll end up fighting Ziggler tonight. There we go. We knew this was going to happen, and he just pushed it too much to the limit for it not to happen. So we see that they're going to fight, and it made a stipulation that if AJ wins, it's going to be just AJ versus Dean Ambrose one-on-one for the SmackDown World Title at Backlash. But if Ziggler wins, then it's going to be a triple threat match. Ziggler versus AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose, the champion. So, looking forward to that. Now, here is one of my other favorite ladies here. I guess if you had to make a second pee break, this might have been it. Nikki Bella versus Carmella. We see that the lovely, I forgot, top 5 Renee. I've got Renee. I've got to put her like number 1. Renee was interviewing Nikki Bella in the ring, because Nikki made her surprise return since Eva got suspended for the wellness policy. Nikki came back, was surprised. Nobody expected her to be back. She ends up winning in the matchup, and they end up winning. But Nikki ended up getting attacked from behind by Carmella, and the match never really started. So, match wasted, time wasted, my time wasted, your time if you watched it wasted. So, very sad to see that happen, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Next, we see coming out Randy Orton cutting a promo, and he said that his path, Will Lesnar he'll cross that with him again. And folks, if you've ever seen anything bloody, you missed out, because Brock decimated Randy, and apparently it was part of the storyline because he elbowed Randy in the head, and Randy ended up having to get 10 staples in his head. I think he said 10 staples. Didn't say stitches, staples. Because he busted Randy open, and Randy bled all in the ring. I mean, it just looked horrible. They just stopped it. But that was apparently part of what they wanted to happen. I just think that he got cut a little too deep for what they wanted to, but that's what he did. So we see that he comes out, and then Orton, while he's talking in his promo, Bray Wyatt comes out. Now, this is getting good, because I've been waiting to see Bray Wyatt and who he's going to feud with, because, Bray Wyatt wasn't at SummerSlam, and that's one of their big 4 of the year. So we're getting a good idea of it, and I'm glad to see Lesnar. I don't like Lesnar. I don't care for Lesnar. He's a cash cow for Vince because of his name, but I just feel like Lesnar is really reckless, and they're building him to a super credible Cena Hulk, apparently, in this. So you think Cena was invincible, but ain't nothing. Look at Lesnar. He's even worse. So, and so Wyatt's sitting out there in his rocking chair, and he cuts a promo on Orton. And Wyatt says that he's a god, and a god can never die. So, and then the lights went out and he disappeared. So, classic Bray Wyatt, the eater of words. He's awesome. I like Bray Wyatt. He knows how to cut promos, and it's about time to put him. I'm wanting to see him in a title picture. He's been there too long not to have a title, or not to have the title yet. I mean, he's a good guy. Maybe on SmackDown he will get a chance and a run with it. It doesn't matter. Just the man needs a title shot. So we see backstage, we see poor old Heath Slater. He's still around. Even desperate enough, he comes to poor old Arn Anderson, Double A. And even bad Double A don't even want to do it. And of course, why not? Double A's been retired for years. He's a Hall of Famer, with the Four Horsemen. And it just tears poor old Heath Slater up. He don't know what to do. And then out of nowhere, Rhino comes out. And Rhino said he will agree to be his partner. So here we go. Slater finally, after searching and searching, has his partner in Rhino. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of tag teams, we have a tag team matchup coming up. One of SmackDown's draft choices, the tag team, up-and-coming tag team of American Alpha. They take on the tag team of Fandango, and Tyler Breeze. And, the crowd gets behind American Alpha, start chanting USA for them, because, they basically, reminds me a lot of Kurt Angle and stuff, when I was the world's greatest tag team with Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. People are wanting Angle to come in and kind of be a manager to them type thing. And I think so too. I think he really needs to come in, get into the Hall of Fame, and I think he needs to really manage American Alpha, give him a good light behind him, fire him up a little bit, get her name out there, be legit. I mean, the world's greatest tag team were tag team champions themselves, so it's about time for them to see that. So this was what people classified as their most competitive match on SmackDown so far, and there was a lot of near falls in the matchup. And American Alpha eventually gets the win, so they're now in the title picture for the SmackDown tournament for the tag team titles. So congratulations to them and their win and their and their matchup. So here we see up next is the main event to determine just who will face Dean Ambrose. Will it be a one-on-one if AJ Styles wins between AJ and Dean? Or will it be a triple threat if Ziggler happens to pull off the victory against AJ Styles and in the main event for the SmackDown title? Well, we see that Dean Ambrose came out there and he joins them for commentary, of course, to sit there and watch the matchup. Ziggler ended up getting a really close fall a few times. He ended up hitting a zigzag, but it was to no avail. As we see that AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash, and he ends up getting the pin. 1, 2, 3. So we see the main event for Backlash for the SmackDown Heavyweight title or World Heavyweight title, whatever we're going to call it, WWE Heavyweight title, will be AJ Styles challenging Dean Ambrose for the WWE SmackDown Heavyweight title. So they end up staring each other down as the show goes off the air, and that basically concludes my SmackDown, Raw and SmackDown Live report. Thanks again. If you like this and you want to see more, hope you do. Subscribe to my channel. Drop a like on this video. I will put out more content and future shows. So if you folks want to see that, that would be great. Leave some comments if you want to in the comment box. Let me know what you think. Anything you may want to talk about, or anything you may want me to discuss, feel free to share it. I'm willing to listen to anything and willing to do whatever I can. So until next time, this is Bill Mack, and this is the Raw SmackDown Live report, and I'll talk to you next time, folks.